couldn't be more proud to introduce my friend, my mentor, and the next president of the, oh wait, no, I got carried away. This year's Irish America Business 100 keynote speaker, the CEO of SAP, Bill McDermott.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very, very much. I'd like to, first of all, say, based on that introduction, I'm somewhere between my bill.mcdermott@sap.com email address is now generating PAC funds immediately, so you can email me, or 4 more years. You've got me so fired up, I'm ready to go. Fired up and ready to go. Nick, thank you for the beautiful introduction. To my great friend Nick, who I had the distinct honor of hiring and seeing his career prosper and grow, to see you tonight is just an honor for me personally. And I just want to say that for all my SAP colleagues. Barbara Rendina, I hired her day one. Within 15 minutes at a luncheon, I told her she's hired. She said, wait a minute, I've got a husband, I've got a full-time job. I said, I know, you're hired. And you know, she was the first executive assistant that was dealing with employment contracts within 24 hours, and I don't think, 16 years later, either one of us ever regretted that. And the story goes on with Jamie and all of my dear colleagues, Soledad, and so many that I'd love to mention, but it would take too much time. But I'm in your debt. I'm honored to be your friend and to have the professional trust and affection for one another that we will always have. So thank you very much, my dear colleagues. I'm proud of you. I really am. I would also like to especially thank Patricia and Neil and Kate and all of the colleagues from the Irish American Magazine and what they put into making this night a reality. I am honored. I'm humbled beyond compare. And for Kieran and his enormous talent, singing to my mother, Kathleen, is just an unbelievable honor for me. My mother died too young at 67 in 2010, and you moved me, and you moved her. So thank you for that. I'll never forget it. In my book, Winner's Dream, I open up the book by saying, my mother, Kathleen, I dedicate this book to you. Everything I was, am, and ever will be, I owe it all to you. And that's how I feel today, and it'll never change. I think about being in this room in the great city of New York, my favorite city, the city I was born in, the city I love with all my heart and soul. I started at 9 West 57th around the corner. And I never forget coming into this building for the first time to sell them a copy machine when I was 21 years old. And I was like, man, this must be the kind of place you get to when you really make it, when you're on top of the world. Can you imagine how I feel tonight? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. My dad was a cable splicer for Con Edison. My mom was a homemaker. I was working 3 jobs in Long Island, New York, in a town called Amityville. Yes, I was working at that Italian restaurant. I was working for the town of Amityville. I was working at a supermarket and some other odd jobs on the side, and I had an opportunity to trade all that in for a job at the Amityville Country Delicatessen. And at the time, it was a simplification effort. I could consolidate 3 jobs and some other part-time crazy jobs like all-night gas stations into one that would give me all the hours I wanted. And you're not going to believe this. It comes to a magic moment where the guy that has it doesn't want it and he wants to sell. So he says, look, kid, nobody else wants to buy the place. And I said, I need $25,000 and it's yours. I don't have $25,000. He said, okay, I'll take $7,500. He said, well, that was fast. I said, how about $5,000? No, it's $7,500, but you can give it to me on notes. So with interest, over 1 year, you miss a single payment, I take the store back, you make your payments, you own it. You got a kid? I take my shot, let's go. And I had no money. So I did have friends though. You see, you could do a lot when you have friends. I knew all the delivery people, they gave me all my first deliveries on consignment. I told them I'll pay you back. I don't want anything for free. I know you'll charge me a little too much because you did me a favor, but it's okay. I'm good with that. So I'm in business, and I'm going against two juggernauts. I got Finest Supermarket on one side of the store. I got 7-Eleven a block and a half down next to the high school. What is a kid like me going to do? So this is the thing. The little one has to do what the big ones are either structurally unable to do or they're unwilling to do because they're not hustlers. So I figured out my marketplace pretty quickly. Number one, I had a senior citizen complex a block and a half away. What did I learn? Senior citizens would rather get delivery than leave the house. We deliver. They don't. Blue-collar workers like my dad, they would come on Friday night in jeans and a t-shirt, flush rich because they just got paid. By Sunday morning, they were broke. We give them credit. And they always paid me back. But the hard part, how do I get those kids to walk a block and a half past 7-Eleven to come to my little store? What do? You go down there and ask them why you're standing in line 40 at a time and there's only 4 inside the store. And the kids say to me, well, Bill, that's the situation. They think we're going to take things. I said, don't worry about all that. You follow me to my store. Come with me. And I bring them all down. And I had a little surprise for them. Do you remember video games? Asteroids and Pac-Man? You know, you pluck those quarters in and play Asteroids and Pac-Man. Well, I got the idea one day at the mall, seeing the kids pump the mom and dad quarters in there one after another. So the guy who owns the video machines cuts a deal with me. I give you the machines, you give me the store. And we split the quarters. You got a deal. Those video games paid that store off way ahead of time. You know? So innovation even mattered then, but it was all about the customer. You know how I learned that? At the end of a long day, one of the young people said to me, Bill, when we want to have nice food, be treated with respect, and play video games, we come to your store. And when we want to steal stuff, we go to 7-Eleven. You can't make this stuff up. You know, 9 West 57th, right around the corner. That's the Avon building. That's what they called it back in 1983. My dad and I had an interesting ride to the Long Island Railroad. We lived in a 1,000 square foot house in Amityville, Long Island. And every time there was a northeast storm, we were on a canal, the house would flood. And the day of my interview, there was 4.5 feet of water in the main floor of the house. That's a lot. My mother was a saint. Even the St. Jude statue couldn't hold back the water in that house. We kept trying. Poor old St. Jude, I had to get it a life preserver after a while. But I got my $99 suit from the mall. I'm feeling like $1 million. But I'm coming down the stairs and I realize if I step all the way down, I'll have water up to here. So my brother Kevin puts me on his shoulder, carries me out to the street. The tide had started to go down. My dad's in the car to take me to the railroad. I love my father. We're in the car having a great father and son chat about my big interview. And we get to the Long Island Railroad. I'm about to get out, and I said, Dad, look, I'm coming home tonight with my employee badge in my pocket. I guarantee it. And my dad said, Bill, you're a good kid. Why do you put all that pressure on yourself? Just do the best you can. I guarantee it. I go up the escalator, get on the railroad, coming into Manhattan from Amityville. I'm reading the annual report about Xerox. At the time, they had a CEO named David Kearns. Now, Kearns was complaining in the article, basically saying that Xerox was spending more to build a machine than the best competitors were selling to sell the better machine from a quality standpoint. So he had to reinvent the company. I didn't care. I just wanted to get my dream job at Xerox. So I'm fired up. And now I want to be the next David Kearns. I love this guy. He's a change agent. He wants to move the company forward. I get to top of the sixes in Manhattan. What do you think happens? I get up there, top of the sixes. This is the best in Manhattan. Beautiful young people, suits, great dresses, went to the best schools. So intimidating. I'm the kid from Long Island running a little business. I said, boy, I might have overshot it a little bit with my father. This is tough. So what do? Do you panic? Or do you go to your strong suit, what you do well? I said, look, I talk to 500 people a day in the deli. Let me just start some conversations. What are you in for? What are you trying to get done? What's your goals? What do you want? You want a job here? What are you thinking? Well, I'm playing the field. I'm looking at Goldman Sachs, IBM, probably Merrill Lynch. I said, whoa, what do you think happened to me at that moment? I knew it was my day. Why? Because I wanted it so much more than they wanted it. I go through 8 interviews. They finally send me to the big boss at 9 West 57th Street. I'm sitting on a couch right where the demo room is. And I think they forgot me, actually. So I go up to Joanne Siciliano, who is the administrative assistant, and I said, Joanne, I'm in no rush. Please just let Mr. Fullwood know that I'm here for my interview. She goes in there. 2 seconds later, I'm in his office. We have this incredible meeting. He said, Bill, this was a fantastic conversation. You're a fine young man. Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Mr. Fullwood. And Bill, the HR department will be in touch with you in the next few weeks. And I said, Mr. Fullwood, I don't think you completely understand the situation, sir. And he kind of tilts his head like, what's this kid up to? I said, I haven't broken a promise to my dad in 21 years. And I guaranteed him I'd have my employee badge in my pocket today. Head tilts a little bit more, looks at me and says, Bill, as long as you haven't committed any crimes, you're hired. And I said, well, Mr. Fullwood, I certainly haven't committed any crimes. Are you sure that means I'm hired? And he said, well, yes, it does. So, of course, in true Bill McDermott fashion, I walk around the table, I pick him up and carry him around, place him safely back in his chair. I run to the elevator, go down 38 floors, hit Fifth Avenue, go to Bun and Burger on the corner, and take quarters and put it in the phone. You actually had to do that. You remember those days? I call up my mom and dad. I said, Mom and Dad, I got the job. This is the best day of my life. By the way, break out the Corbel. I'm coming home. I could see some of my Irish friends here have drank Corbel as well. That's rough stuff, let me tell you. So after you get the dream job, then you have to work for it, right? You go through training class, they make you a trainee. I have a copy machine on my back. I have an electronic typewriter in this hand, and I have a briefcase loaded up with brochures in the other hand. I'm a door-to-door salesman. That's what I did. And I had to travel with the senior guy who insisted I carry these things while he walked casually down the street. It's August. It's 95 in the shade. We get a lead at a brownstone on Madison Avenue. I'm carrying this stuff, the sweat's trickling down my cheeks. We get to the brownstone, and I realize there's no elevator. So I have to go up 4 flights of stairs. The door is warmly ajar. I look in, and there she is. Chanel suit, perfect eye contact, everything is good, right? What do you think happens next? A giant cat jumps on my shoulder and sticks its claws through my $99 suit. I had a good feeling that the skin would eventually heal, but I wasn't sure about the suit when the claws came back out. So what did I do? Drop the typewriter and the briefcase, hold the cat. Good kitty. Loved a kitty. The woman says to me, wow, you really like animals, don't you? And I said, especially cats. And Garfield has nothing on this cat. We have this beautiful conversation. We get to the end. The senior guy says, hey, kid, isn't it about time to plug the machine in the wall and do the demo? I asked the woman, I said, do you need to see a demo? See, because the copy machine, you plug it in the wall, it's got a green button, it says start, you press it, makes copy. And the electronic typewriter, it's just faster than the one that's not electronic, but it's the same type of keyboard. I'm sure you can use it. She goes, oh, honey, I don't need a demo. I'll take 2. We get down on the street level. He says, Bill McDermott, you're either going to be the CEO of Xerox or you're going to go to jail. I said, what is it with you people in jail? I've never told this story in a forum like this, but years later, I'm in Puerto Rico, and I had to serve, at least he wanted me to serve, as a character witness because that same guy got arrested at JD's bar in Manhattan in a drug sting operation. True story. You can't make it up. Speaking of Puerto Rico, so we're living in Manhattan. My wife and I, a newborn baby boy in an apartment, everything perfect. And I get this career opportunity to run Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. They were number 67 out of 67. That means dead last. They were always dead last. So the big boss calls me up and he says, Bill, I got a great opportunity for you. They're dead last. And we need someone to turn it around. And what I learned is, there's people that have the careers that have to be perfect for them. My comp plan, my job, my house, my car, everything good. Or there's people that do things in service to the company because they think somebody at the top might be smart enough, if they can turn it around, to not forget that. So we take the shot. We go to Puerto Rico. And they're expecting the American to come in with the vision and all the ideas, right? I spend 2 weeks basically listening to Spanish for Gringos on Berlitz tapes and listening to the people. And I said, look, you guys have taken being last to such an art form level. I mean, you're fantastic at it. Every year you do it again and again. How are you so good at being last and so consistent with it? And they basically said, look, it comes down to 3 things. 1, we need a vision, where you want us to go. 2, we want to be motivated when we get to work. And 3, and this was actually the most important thing, we want our Christmas party back. Now, of course, of the 3 things, what do you think was the most important? Thank you, getting the Christmas party back. So, in this idea of the winner's dream and the dreamer, what would it be like? Where would we do the party? Well, it would be the El San Juan Hotel. Who would be the entertainer? Gilbertito Santa Rosa, the #1 salsa singer in Puerto Rico. Okay, and what would the women wear? What would the men wear? What was the idea of the agenda? How would it look? So we get so excited about it. I basically take the order. I say, I'll come back to you tomorrow. I sleep on it. I come back the next day. I said, I got good news for you. We got Gilbertito. We're doing it at the El San Juan Hotel. The Christmas party's on. What do you think happened? They get up. Whoa, senor, you're the greatest. Rocky push-ups, everything good. Inspired room. I said, look, there's only one catch. There is nothing noble about dancing to Gilbertito or anyone else. Number 67. When we dance to Gilbertito, we'll be the #1 business in the world, and we'll do it this year. Well, complete silence. They were like, maybe we can get this gringo in a container ship from Puerto Rico back to New York. I said, look, I get it. You trust me, I trust you, 1 day at a time. So 1 day at a time, everybody giving it everything they had. After 90 days, they're climbing. 6 months, they're really climbing. 9 months, they're like Seabiscuit coming around the turn. And they become the #1 business in the world in December. Still to this day, by the biggest percentage on a year-over-year basis in the history of any team in the company. What's the moral of the story? If enough people care, you can do anything. And they proved it. So proud to have been there with them. 21 years later, my son's going to school in Boston, I go back. Sunday night, we go to a restaurant. Maybe some people will show up. The lights are out, I walk in, the place is packed, the lights fly on, we're laughing, we're crying, we're looking at pictures, we're remembering the memories. We do it for people, for teams, for the memories, and they last a lifetime. That's what really matters in leadership. I come to SAP, and I'll just fast forward it to 2010. By unanimous consent, the board says we got to make a CEO change. I come in as the co-CEO. We worked on one thing and one thing only for 2 weeks. What's the vision? What's the strategy? And what's going to be different about this agenda and the future of this company? Vision with purpose. Help the world run better, improve people's lives. If it doesn't contribute to that vision, we're not doing it. Strategy. Don't worry about what you were good at before. Focus on where the world needs you to be and get there. And that's what we spent all our time on. And we're still executing on that. But the best thing is the human capital. Companies and brands and buildings don't matter. What matters, it's what's in them, and it's the people that make the difference. And you see that tonight in living color. So I'm very proud of the statistics that Nick put out there. Not because we achieved metrics that matter, but because people now have great hope, great opportunity, more jobs, more earnings, more things that can buy education and cars and houses, and they can invest in their future, and they can be all they want to be in this world. And that's what endures the test of time. So as I think about this evening, the guy who went from that corner store to the corner office, I'm also reminded that we all get hit with thunderbolts. I got hit with mine in July of 2015. My dad had his 70th birthday. We had a phenomenal day. Golf course, perfect. The end of a gorgeous day. I'm on a flight of stairs with the thick water glass. I slip on the stairs in a house I was unfamiliar with and find myself alone with that glass somewhere between my face and a cement floor. And I wake up, obviously with a concussion in a very difficult scene. And I realized that my mind was completely rational. It's basically, Bill, lay down. Go to sleep. You have done enough. And the good news is my will had a different idea for my destiny. And my will said, you have a beautiful family. You have great friends. You have 87,000 women and men at SAP that count on you and you count on them. Your story isn't destined to end tonight. So you got to find a way to get up, get out, and get on with it. And by the grace of God, I did. And one of the parts of the story that a lot of people don't know is I crawled out of this house, probably 125 feet, to the hearth of a driveway in the street, and I laid down in the middle of the street and the hearth of this driveway, and I basically just said, please call 911, as strong as I had left in me at that time. And the person that heard me and called the first responders is the person that bought the home that I had bought for my mother. And people, to this day, still can't figure out how at that scene there was a clean path between the door and the street, but the door and the street were both a mess. And I know why, because I had a lot of help. So tonight, as I am extremely humbled and grateful by your recognition, I want to say to my fellow honorees that I walk in the footsteps of giants and it's an honor. I also want you to know that I'll take this moment with you as yet another force multiplier to remind myself that the cause endures, the hope still lives, and that dream will never die. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.